Are we live?
We're live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to What's Notable. I am Alex.
And I am Jack. And this is the show where Alex reviews music. And I ask him the question, what's notable? So, Alex, this week I recommended L.A. Divine, the album by Cold War Kids. And I'm going to ask you the big question. What's notable?
For those of you that are listening and are like, I just need like my 30-second fix and then I'm good, I'm going to give you that quick review. I give it a strong 3 out of 5. LA Divine, Cold War Kids, strong 3 out of 5. Maybe by the end of this conversation, I'll bump it up to a 4. Who knows?
I like how you say 30-second fix like it's a drug.
You need to listen to Alex.
I just
You need to listen to Alex's mediocre podcast.
I need to know what Alex thinks about this album.
And then after 30 seconds, you're like, I'm good. No,
It's good to know. And please, for the guests at home and myself included, a 3 out of 5 means what?
3 out of 5 is basically like, I probably wouldn't really suggest this album to people that are like, hey, do you have any good album suggestions? I wouldn't necessarily put this as like a you need to listen to it kind of album. I listened to it once all the way through. Very, very little complaints. One song in particular, but you already know the song I'm talking about. I'm going to go right ahead and move your microphone because you can see that your chair and your microphone stand are touching.
Ooh, they're touching.
They're touching, and you
almost
scooted right back into it.
We'll spin it. We'll spin everything.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll tell you what. I have a playlist that I've made called The Keepers, where out of every single album I listen to, if I'm like, ooh, I'd really like to listen to this song, and I'm probably going to listen to it again in the future, I'm going to throw it in this playlist. One song from the album made it onto that playlist.
Yeah. I personally think at least 2 songs should make it onto the playlist. But what song did you put on the playlist?
So I put on the single for the album, Love is Mystical. Overall, I really liked the singer's use of his registers. We're probably going to be diving into that a little bit more later on. The way that he basically navigates his melodies, either in his falsetto, head voice, or chest voice, I think is really clever, and I think that it's really part of his stylistic integrity. What I can't remember what the singer's last name is again. Whitten?
For the amount of times we've looked it up, Nathan Willett.
Willett, that's it. Nathan Willett, really strong singer, and I really like the stylistic choices that he made. And yeah, overall, guitar is
I think you're being real picky there. I actually would love you to cite some instances that really threw you on this guitar.
Let's see. Wait a second. I'm curious. I think in Can We Hang On?
Yeah.
There's a in the very, very beginning, the guitar's playing a line that I'm not really super enthusiastic about.
Okay.
And I find that the guitarist in a couple songs, I can't think of what the second song is.
The guitarist, David Kwan is the guitarist.
David Kwan. I think that he understands his instrument very, very well, and that he has a good understanding timbrally, or like the quality of the sound that he's making. I think he has a really good understanding of that. I just like some melodic choices that he made. I wasn't a huge fan of, where he'd like shift between like the 4th scale degree and the 3rd scale degree.
Yeah.
Those are like a half step apart from each other.
And when you listened to it the first time, you picked up on it?
I picked up on it, and I was like, ooh, that's a little harsh. Especially considering like the harmony going on in the song.
And it's not like a harsh tone to the album. Like, for the most part, it's very much like an album talking about relationships. And like, out of these, there's like 9 songs where they talk about different types of relationships. And like, you'd think it'd get boring, but obviously I'm a fan of it.
Yeah.
But just to say my point for 2 seconds, like, so the song "Love Is Mystical," literally exactly what it says. It's a song about like how crazy love is. Can we hang on? It's about a relationship where they're asking the question, "Can we hang on?" So tied up. Literally, they write themselves. I actually might not even explain any of these. Restless. That one actually has a better thing. It's about It's about a couple where they're both trying to like, I think they're both trying to work like 60 hours a week or something like that. They both have like these big goals, and they're also trying to be in a relationship. Were you gonna say something? You're
No. I was going to say specifically with Restless. I need to listen to Restless again.
yeah.
Because unfortunately the only song that comes to my head is the one that's like Restless. It's like that country song that's like is it Dan and Shay?
I don't even. It's not Restless.
Breathless. No. You know what? That's not required listening for this week.
It's okay.
So you know what? That's fine.
We have. I'll finish the list and I'll explain whatever I feel needs necessary. L.A. River, which has nothing to do with relationships and is literally about the L.A. River.
I didn't like the song.
No reason.
getting more to it later.
No reason to run. That's about a successful relationship.
Yep.
Open up to the heavens. I actually. Do you know what that is offhand? Because I certainly don't.
No.
That one, we'll just skip that one. Invincible, a relationship that's going extraordinarily well.
Yep.
Wilshire Protest, not about relationships, kind of about the modern 21st century, and talking about technology and like life in a busy city, like trying to make it. Ordinary Idols is about a guy who's in a band. Right? Is this the one? Do I have it right?
I think so, yeah.
It's a guy who's in a band and he's talking. Yes, yeah, no, this is the one. It's a guy who's in a band and his girlfriend's friends, like, have, like, say he's like a big shot or something. Like, Camera's Always On is about how in a relationship, the opposite sex is always watching you closely, like a camera is always on. Part of the Night. I don't think there's any relationships going on in there. I think it's mostly just about like a band playing at night. I know you said you liked Part of the Night. I don't know.
I really like Part of the Night.
Yeah, do you know, like, I feel like it's just about like a band playing like late at a bar. That's what I felt like the idea was supposed to be, but I'm really unsure.
So I really got the sense that it was like that was the stadium one. That was one that like the guy I really thought the guy wrote it being like, I'm gonna scream this one in a stadium and people are gonna lose their minds.
Okay, and it'd be like as the show's settling down right before the encore, maybe, because like it's it's not a fast song, but it can be an intense song.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Free to Breathe, which is mostly like asking big questions, but also being like, you know, somewhere in there they're like we referring to a significant other. But the whole gist of that is basically that it's mostly a positive song, you know, just kind of like a message about relationships in modern day America, specifically LA, hence the album LA Divine.
Mm-hmm.
So having those guitar chord changes as I started this list referring to might be a little offsetting. What are you pointing at?
I'm pointing at your tapping foot that everyone's gonna hear.
That explains that. I had no idea.
Oh, I did.
You pointed at it the first time, and I was like, yeah, that's a wire, all right.
Yeah, it's a foot. Yep.
But you were referring to the guitar melody?
Yeah, I think that the guitar...
Which might not necessarily reflect the messages that
No, it
they're
doesn't.
shooting for.
No. I think that the guitar nails the necessity of the guitar timbrally speaking and the quality of the sound.
Okay.
I like the LA River, for as much as I'm gonna rag on it, is fun to listen to once because the guitar is just like, okay, I'm gonna throw in a bunch of phasers and flangers and stuff like that, and they like the singer did the same thing, and they're like, oh, it sounds like a river, and that's fun, and I'm down for that. And he nails this in the other songs respectively.
Okay. And LA River's only a 30-second song.
And it's a minute.
Is it a whole minute?
It might be a minute. Yeah.
I actually might check this one because
it might be a minute and a half because Camera's Always On, I think, is like 30 seconds.
Okay.
I
don't have a time on this. Do you have a time?
Give me one second. Oh, it doesn't say the time.
Either way, so there's
or Wheelchair Protest might be 30 seconds. No, that's not right.
No, Wilshire is like a minute and a half, I think.
Oh, that might be the minute and a half one.
But either way, so there's 3 short songs on this album. I don't know. Do you have like a take on short songs within albums? Like I'm trying to think of other bands I know offhand. So like Blink-182 likes to do some short songs.
Yeah.
Can you name another
Another band that does
artists
shorter
that
songs.
might do like a short song only made for the album. Like no one would really go out of their way to listen to some of these short songs necessarily.
If I remember properly, I think The Wall has a lot of really short songs, a lot of reprises too, a lot of like
Okay.
reuses of
Sure,
same
sure,
ideas,
sure.
and I think that's really clever. I think no, I like my brain's like say Killers, but that's not right. I don't think that's right. Let me look up Sam's Town. I think
Okay.
Sam's Town has some short songs.
Well, I'd like to move on to the other short songs in this album, unless you have any other words on LA River.
No.
So basically,
as
you
far
think
as LA
it's,
River goes, no, I'll
it's
keep bragging on LA River. Hold on.
so stylistically, you can see the intent there. You can see like the choices they made.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't necessarily vibe with the rest of the album. Doesn't necessarily it comes off of Restless, which as I said earlier is like
It's the swan amongst the ducks, I think.
wait, do you like the Swan or not like the Swan?
It's an ugly duckling.
Oh, I see. But so the other two short songs are Wilshire Protest and Camera's Always On. Wilshire Protest, I like the message behind it.
Yep.
I want to read this short I don't know, what's multiple lines, a phrase?
Stanza.
A stanza? I don't want to read the whole stanza. I don't even
Couplet?
think this is split up. Okay.
It's not I wouldn't use that.
But this is my favorite phrase in here. My chemicals are spiking like a lie detector. Dopamine, serotonin, happiness is not the answer. It is a couplet. That's just two lines right there.
Okay.
But I think that's the it's the most notable line in that song for me personally. I think it's relatable to anyone in like the the modern 2021 world because we're constantly getting more. We're constantly.
Foot.
I'm tip tapping my foot away. We're constantly giving ourselves distractions and media, and constantly keeping our attention. And I just like I like how even though the song might only be a minute 30, that he mentions it.
Yeah, he brings it to light. It's like he's like it may not be like the 100% focus of the song, but
Absolutely not. It's just it's my favorite line though.
it's a solid line.
And then the last short song in this, and I think they're all I'd say they're all notable personally.
You know what?
I think they're all notable. At least
Yes.
as far as short songs go. The last one is Camera Always On. I don't know if you'd like to give your words on that.
You know what I just realized? I read the Camera's Always On notes for when you asked for Wilshire Protest.
Okay, hit me with Wilshire Protest.
Okay, great. So my thoughts on Wilshire Protest are the groove that it establishes in the beginning of the song.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. I wish that it, if anything, probably like beefed up a little bit more later on. Like there was a little bit more like
Oh, you said
more
it
going
did
on.
beef up. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. No, I think
it does. No, it does. And I'm saying that I'd like even more of like, even if like turning up the bass a little bit more would be nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, like I like I said earlier, he's just talking over it. It's like might be speaking. I don't even know if that's like the right phrase on this one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. As far as like the speech singing goes and the lyrics that he's singing, I was definitely like, is when I listened to something for the first time, and this is one of the songs that I listened to once. I haven't gotten the chance to listen to it again. It's really tough to kind of like break down the lyrics sometimes of what someone's singing, and it's especially even more so when you can't understand all the words that the guy is saying.
Sure. Well,
In this song, it's not really so much of a problem, but the nuances of what the song is really getting at. At the first listen, I was like, I get that this is getting into some spicy stuff, and I'm in for it. I was like, it lands it? Question mark. I think it lands it. And I love the groove that it establishes, and there's a riff that they use, and I can't think of how it goes.
I can imagine it barely in my head. But yes, no, there's definitely they lay down the groove. They put the riff in just a little bit, and it's just like a monotone guy talking over it.
Yeah, literally.
and
I'm like,
it
I'm in.
surprisingly works well. So the last short song, Camera's Always On.
Right.
Hit me with the.
So this one, I really like how it's characterized as far as like the timbre of like the singer's voice matches really, really well with the piano. It sounds like the singer and the piano were recorded in the same room at the same time.
As someone who doesn't consider these things, I just assumed it was.
Yeah, and it literally, and they probably were. It's the easiest way to do it, probably.
Because I think, I don't know the word of it, but it almost, the piano has like a certain, I don't think it's an effect. It might have just the way they put the microphone in. It sounds like it's a piano in a room, you know what I mean? Versus like a...
Yeah.
I don't
know.
know.
Are you referring to the reverb at the end where there's the sound and it sounds like it echoes?
Maybe.
Like it fills the room kind of?
Yeah.
Or are you saying that you like the sparkly sound of it and the higher timbral things?
No. Probably the fact that it feels like it's filling a room.
Okay.
If that's the reverb.
Yeah, that'd be the sound reverberating in the room and the mic catching it. This recording is probably going to have some reverb on it just because of the room we're in, and that's it. But yeah. And I wish there was more of this.
Yes, this is the one. This is the one you wish there was more.
More.
Yes. Yeah. So I think this one might be a minute. I don't like. I wish we had exact lengths. But it's just a guy, his piano, and he's talking about his girlfriend, and that's it. But I like the message. Camera's always on. I think it's relatable. I'm actually gonna pull up the line on this one because it's a good quote. It's 5 lines. The whole song is 5 lines long.
Yep.
And line number 3 is the only line I need to read. I want to be famous in your eyes.
Oh, I love that.
It's not you, Alex. I'm not talking to you. But yes, I think it's a killer line.
It's a nice line.
And I'm gonna keep pulling up lyrics because I think the other thing that sold me is their ability to tell a story within their songs. Which I'm just a sucker for.
I was going to say, I definitely, so as far as like stylistic, like as far as like the band goes, and I did a little bit of digging and was like, hey, who are their influences? And some of the people that they credit as their own influences are people like Bob Dylan, Led Zeppelin, people in the rock and blues field. And I can totally see that because Bob Dylan is as much as good he is a musician, he's really a phenomenal writer.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And these guys, they're good. Like, I don't think anywhere near the status of Bob Dylan, obviously.
Because you've never heard of them.
Because I've never heard of them.
And I've heard of Bob Dylan.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so we can either move on, hit more songs. We could talk more openly on the different band members and what they contribute.
I'll tell you what, I'd very much actually like to talk about what Willett does.
Okay. The Nathan Willett.
I think that
lead vocals and piano.
I think that Willett really carries this album, quite honestly. And I don't mean that as any disrespect to anybody else like on the album.
Sure.
But I think that he's really figured out his own sound.
Yeah.
And he uses it really, really well. If anything, I think that Willett is probably the most consistent element throughout the entire album. And I definitely like the quality, the style of what he's bringing.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm gonna take a quick like checklist style, be like, here's what I think of, like, so Willett's great. Next one I'm gonna say is the drummer.
The drummer being Joe Plummer.
Plummer's good. He's not. I don't think he's on everything.
I would believe that. I mean, like,
he might be on everything, and just like just how they decided to record it.
They obviously he also has vague percussion for those like random bits of percussion going on.
I love the. We'll get into that.
So
I love the
whether he's on a
percussion.
drum kit in every song is a different
yeah, because some songs have like some of the drums sound kind of like they're 8-bit. There probably is like a good term to use to describe them. Maybe it's like they're really compressed or something. I'm not sure. That might not be it. But that's how I would describe it. I describe it as having an 8-bit sound. The single on the album, Love is Mystical, the drums sound 8-bit.
Okay.
But on another song, like, let's see if I can
name the right song. There's only one song to name right here.
Is there really only one song to name?
I hope it's the song.
Let's see.
Well, if Alex can't name a song, I'd like to.
Here it is. Luck Down.
Not what I was gonna name.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. Hit me with Luck Down.
Yeah, Luck Down, the exact note. Love the clarity and tone of the drums in the intro, and it happens multiple times, but I wish it was more consistent. I think the drums are really, really good in this track, but it doesn't nail it consistently, unfortunately. And unfortunately, that just isn't the case throughout the entire album.
I think.
But when he's on, he's on.
I think Joe Plummer. I think the first time I really even cared that he existed on this album was in No Reason to Run, and it's during the opening. He does like a drum fill.
Yep, lots of clarity in the drums.
Yeah, he just does like a drum fill in the first, and there's nothing else playing. It's just him and the drum fill, and it's just clarity. It's clean, but like but it's the first time I think in this album that I was like, oh, the drummer's good.
They're the drums. Wow. Yeah, literally.
And
it's
that's
the sixth song in the album.
It's the sixth song in the album. So,
Literally,
So
God.
they certainly don't feature him
No.
too heavily, whether they wanted to or not.
Yeah. But yeah. So drums are good. The percussion. Who's the
Everyone
aux
kind of
percussion?
shares percussion. So
Everyone gets
Nathan
kudos.
Willett does a little bit of percussion. Joe Plummer does a little bit of percussion. Matthew Schwartz does a little bit of percussion.
Matthew Schwartz.
The only who doesn't do percussion is Matt Moust, who's the bass guitarist, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
And David Kwan, who's the regular guitarist, and that also makes sense.
Yeah, that checks out.
But so, can you name? I don't know the songs offhand that have like a little bit of added percussion. I don't know if you have it written down.
Yes,
or
I do.
anything.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. So, Love is Mystical. As much as the drums sound 8-bit, the clarity and the claps like have a ton of really nice like high end, as well as like it sounds like someone's clapping into like a microphone.
Okay.
As opposed to the drums that sound like they're kind of processed.
The claps, yes.
Right? Yeah, literally those claps. You can hear that they're like they literally filled a room of people and recorded everyone clapping. I
I
imagine.
like how you say literally, and you're like, I imagine.
I imagine.
Literally, they must
They
have.
literally, like,
probably,
It
pretty
makes the most
sure.
sense. It would be, you know what? People are crazy. They might have recorded each isolated
People
clap.
are crazy.
But you know what? That sounds a touch bonkers to me.
Just a touch bonkers.
Just a touch mad.
The official musical terminology I think you think of is bonkers.
Let's see. What else has just really nice auxiliary percussion? I know I made notes of the tambourine.
Yeah,
And I made regular reference to the clap. I was like, ooh,
Okay.
the clap is consistently good. And I imagine that's an everything thing. Anyway, you know what? I'm just gonna say no. I think that's it.
Okay, great. So that's our thoughts on the percussion.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I definitely feel like I should have taken note. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, literally, Love is Mystical. Love that tambourine. Love that shaker.
Yeah.
There it is,
Okay,
there it is.
okay. So that's why that was your top pick. Top pick on this album.
So something else. So before we actually move on to the next musician, and then I kind of want to like plow through the next couple of musicians because, quite frankly,
Because I don't even know if I can talk about them.
yeah, I can't really either. But before I do,
Right.
I just want to bring to attention the fact that that they do use strings on this album on the singles, which makes a lot of sense. And unfortunately, I think
You're
that
saying strings and like nothing.
strings isn't like violin. Oh, so they use strings
Do
in they do. They use strings in Part of the Night, and they use it in where is it? Is it Restless?
And it's a violin.
It's not a violin. It is a group of stringed instruments. And unfortunately, I feel like they don't really use the instrument to like its capabilities, to the things that it really is able to excel in. They use a lot of pizzicato, where basically they pluck the string, and that's totally fine. And it has a specific quality, and I like the quality of a pizzicato, but I wish that they opened up a little bit more in
Sure,
that
they
aspect,
could
if that
probably
makes
afford
sense.
some strings on this. Like
The thing is,
in
they
more songs with
not even if affording it actually is, and that's totally fair. If affording it is
I
actually
didn't
the
mean it
reason,
literally.
yeah.
But hit me with it literally.
if they only wanted to use the strings on these 2 songs
Yeah.
for affordability reasons, I just wish that they had tried a different arrangement, or featured them more.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they definitely added a timbrel. They added a timbrel thing, and it's like, oh, I like the quality of that. But at the same time, I'm like, you're going through all this effort. Why not?
You've already paid the man.
You already paid the man. Why not really wring it out of him?
Or woman.
Or yeah,
Or you paid the woman.
you've paid the musician. Now wring it out of
musician.
them. And yeah, that's unfortunately something that just wasn't realized.
Okay. So like I said, there's bass guitar. There's Matthew Schwartz.
Bass?
Under his name, it says keyboards, guitar, backing vocals, and percussion. And I actually think there are some really good backing vocals. I'm sorry, not to skip over bass, but like, what can you say about the bass in this?
The bass is good, not consistent, but good. When it grooves, it grooves. All right, I'm done.
All right, cool. That sounds good to me.
Yeah. There's like 1 or 2 songs I think we've already talked about. Wilshire Protest, love the groove.
Okay, yes, that's
Bass,
it. That's,
groove, and groove.
It's just
Great.
the drums and the bass set the groove, and then the rest just goes.
Wish it was a little more. You wish the bass was a little more active sometimes.
Sure.
Or I don't wish for that. I would not be displeased if they had done that.
Okay.
I really
okay.
tiptoed around being like, I want my music to sound like this.
You're allowed to be critical. It's a review.
No.
So Matthew Schwartz. So him and David Kwan both do the backing vocals, and I
like
where
the
there
backing
are backing vocals, I think they're all lovely.
I
think
really
they're
like it.
they're not overdone. I don't think they're even ever done in like a first verse. They always save them for like a second or third verse. But certainly, as the guy who's listened to this album the most, I know when the backing vocals are coming, I know they're coming, and like I sometimes sing them more than the regular song.
Yeah.
So that's a max of 5-10 seconds in a song, and yet somehow it hits so well enough for me to be like, oh baby, it's coming up.
I'm sorry, the quality and care that was put into the backing vocals, even the things that will it. Yeah, even the things that I'm glad I'm figuring this out. Even the things that like Willett, the lead singer, are adding to the harmonies are brilliant. And the fact that they're making the stylistic choice to say, okay, Willett could do this, but it sounds interesting when we have this other person do it. And it's one of the reasons why I really, really like the album Pretty Odd by Panic at the Disco, because I'm blanking on his name, and I am so.
I'm not gonna know his name, so
Oh
look at me.
no,
Mr. Panic.
Mr. Panic is Brendan Urie.
Oh, Mr. Disco.
I'm thinking about Mrs. No, I can't think of his name. Oh, I can't. All I'm thinking of is Pete Wentz, and I'm like, that's not right. That's wrong. That's the bassist for Fall Out Boy.
Okay, well, what's the point?
Point is that they have the guitarist for Panic at the Disco sing on just that album, and it's really good.
Oh, gotcha.
I really like it.
Okay.
And where they do that here, I think is also really good. And I wish they brought that care into the strings.
The strings.
I'm gonna constantly come back to that, because you know what? They have other singers come in as frequently as they have strings.
Sure.
That's gonna be a point I'm harping on this whole time.
Okay. You mentioned this to me offhand before we started. You said there wasn't enough bass, I think was the wording you used. Were you referring specifically to the bass guitar, or just overall the sound doesn't really hit lower notes overall?
I wish you first one.
The first one. You just felt
Yeah.
like, okay. I wasn't sure where you were
bass-
leaning the first time.
Yeah. So like for that one specific example, it was Wilshire Protest, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was talking about the bass, and the bass grooves in the beginning. I really like
yeah.
it, and then it doesn't. Or not that it doesn't.
It doesn't groove more.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't groove more. It doesn't elaborate. It doesn't.
Sure. Okay.
It sets a groove, and it's really nice, and it fits, and it's in the pocket, and it's really nice. But why not pop off? Why not pop off? I'm the kind of guy that says why not pop off, but at the same time there could have been like a bunch. There's so many different reasons for him.
Well,
not
like
to.
even where I mentioned earlier, Joe Plummer's like simple drum fill in No Reason to Run. Like I couldn't even name a single bass fill in the whole album. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they could have done it. Like, it doesn't have to be a feature. It just has to be a note, a little little sprinkle.
Yeah,
Sprinkle
I am a big fan of one, more strings,
Yeah.
and two, more bass. I love it. I love an active bass.
All right.
So much.
I'm just gonna segue myself. So Alex's favorite song is "Love Is Mystical." He's put it in the Keepers playlist. So all you fans listening at home can add to your Keepers playlist. There should be one song in that playlist,
And it's gonna be the Keepers, and you're gonna listen.
and
You're gonna listen to
and
it
you're
on
gonna-
Love Is Mystical, and you're just gonna listen to it on repeat, and that's it.
until next week, where we add songs to the Keepers list. I don't think Alex knew where I was going with this.
No, I had no idea. I just wanted to help.
So no reason to run. I think there's a lot. I don't want to say there's a lot going on. That's like the lamest thing you can say. But there's a lot going on here. Let me explain. No, it's actually probably simple. So Nathan Willett comes in with a nice, I'm gonna call it a chest voice. It's actually my favorite line to sing. It's my favorite song to sing, hands down, and I'm sure that doesn't hurt.
I love the piano at the beginning of that song so much.
I'm gonna talk about, so we have the piano which comes out, like it starts and it's literally just the piano, right?
Yeah.
It's just the piano and then silence and then a drum fill and then silence and then Nathan comes in with the "in the mirror I see my face," and it's there's not that much going on when it starts, and it's lovely. I'm gonna read my absolute favorite line from this song because it's so hilarious, but yet somehow gets the point across. And this is no reason to run. The point is that he's in a relationship, and he's like, "Oh, look, it's working. We don't need to leave this." Do I sound good? Does it sound fine?
No, I thought I heard a hum for a second. I was like,
Okay,
what the heck?
I'm just humming over here. The line is, and I'm gonna try to keep a straight face. "I'm like a Cro-Magnon walking out of my cave. I have evolved like a fish growing legs. Woke like a light bulb clicked in my brain. I am changed. Yeah, I have changed." And then just to finish up the story there, "I got you, and I'm never gonna be the same."
There it is.
And it, I don't know. It's fun to sing. It actually works as like crazy as it is. I don't know. The whole song, super singable. I'm a fan of his range because it's a range I can work with. And then just for the heck of it, the entire chorus of "I Got No Reason to Run," he throws it to like his highest note he can hit. And this is actually the time I'm pretty confident it's falsetto, and we might even have to throw this on, but it's "When did I feel it?"
That is falsetto.
He pops up. Okay, great. Okay. So he does pop up, and
Yeah.
I don't think it hits great. Unfortunately, it's a little harder to sing for me. but
That sounded like garbage.
But the intensity matches. And this if you're gonna do a Jack Keepers list, I'd put "No Reason to Run" in it.
I'm gonna put "No Reason to Run" in my Keepers playlist.
Okay.
Now that we're talking about it, I'm like,
Excellent.
I really like this song.
Excellent. I think you should. I don't think.
This might be the song that I took the most notes on,
Oh, which could a good thing.
which is a good thing. It's the song that I found. I did the most observations. I was able to notice the most.
the most notable? That doesn't mean the best. That just means you wrote the most
Yes.
notes on it. That's
Yeah.
the joke we're going for.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Haha, I'm dumb. As far as notable goes, yeah, I definitely think it's the most. As far as like, I considered when you were like, "Is it the most notable?" I was like, you know what? After I'd listened to the album once, the first song that like came to my head and kind of like got stuck in my head, "No Reason to Run."
Okay.
Yeah, literally, my thoughts on it was first thing, this probably slaps live.
Oh,
It's probably
baby.
so good
well,
live.
So, and this is the only questionable thing in the whole song, at least in my opinion, is that it starts with an audience.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah. I was like,
but it's not bad. It doesn't like
It doesn't have. I don't like the term bad. And you can use bad.
okay.
But it doesn't. It doesn't sound like a live performance. The quality of the
No,
performance.
I don't think it's a live performance. The point is that I
like
think
the
they
musicianship of the performance.
I think they play an audio clip of a crowd at the start
Yeah.
of the song, and it surprisingly works. But maybe it's because it's a nod to being like, "Ooh, you could watch this live."
You can watch it live. Jokes on you. We're in COVID.
I know, right? This was written in 2017.
They didn't know the future. If they
Yeah.
did, that'd be crazy.
But,
Crazy.
That's my top tier pick right there.
Yeah, No Reason to Run's really good.
Um,
I really liked the quirky breakdown. at like a minute and a half in.
I'm gonna have
minute
to pull
40
this
in.
pull this back out. Quirky breakdown.
Yeah, the
minute and a
quirky
half
breakdown,
in.
a minute and a half in. I can
Um,
play it. I'm gonna play it.
Hit me with it because I don't know when you describe it as such.
Yeah. Okay, I wouldn't. Maybe not. The line, the melody isn't quirky, and the drums aren't quirky. The drums are actually really active right there.
Yeah,
I really,
the
really
drums
like
are
that.
So solid in No Reason Around.
So good. But I love that.
Oh yes, no, that is quirky. Yeah, it's because it's what is it technically? It is.
I think it's a synth.
They're called it could be the synth. That would be Matthew Schwartz on the keyboard.
Yeah.
If it's anyone, but
clever.
but what I was
It's
gonna
fun.
say is it's the bridge. Then that's the time that you throw in something quirky like that is right in the bridge where you're like, all right, break it down. Like who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah.
what
We're
we
gonna
do?
yeah. So yeah, slowing it down at the bridge is a good move, I think, in music. If you want to like add excitement.
But
to
it's
the
certainly
choruses.
quirky because like I almost I
I
don't know. This is one of the songs that's like the bluesiest almost. I think it hit me bluesy the first time I listened to it. I don't know why. I don't know why particularly. Obviously, it's not a blues song. It's a very happy song. But yeah, I agree. I enjoy the quirkiness.
Yeah, big loud truck just drive by.
Oh, did you hear
Big
that?
man and big truck just go vroom. Let's say everyone on headphones sure heard that too.
Really? Oh, it wasn't that loud to me.
Yeah. Let's see.
But we can move on. We don't have to talk about No Reason Running.
I really like No Reason to Run. Yeah, you know what?
Glad.
Yeah, the note that I had on it is like, this better be a single. I wasn't sure, but I was like, it better be.
Okay.
Oh, we could talk about the singer some more. Will it carries this
We can
thing.
talk about the singer. We can certainly.
We never really.
mention him more.
So, one thing, and we talked about this briefly beforehand. We without really like diving in too much. Willett does a really Willett uses his registers in really interesting ways. He uses his falsetto, he uses his head voice, he uses his chest voice in really creative ways, and ways that really fit. And in some areas where one singer might sing a line and be like, hey, it's easier on this crazy high note at this part of the song, it'd be easier to flip into falsetto.
Yeah.
Willett will be like, it won't sound like it's easy, but I'm gonna sing that note in the chest voice for that quality. And I think he nails it.
Okay.
Specifically in what song was it? I mentioned it before.
Can We Hang On was the one
Yeah.
that we were mentioning earlier. The second song in the album.
Yeah, that note. Very rarely do I hear a note that high in the melody that present. It's not really something that is in pop music. I don't want to say that. It's not something that you hear often. But in the few instances where I have heard it, it's usually in the background. It's in like a different harmony.
Sure.
Even if it is like the same register with the same intensity, they'll bring it back a little bit in volume. And it's there for not as the like center of attention. In this song at this very moment, it is the center of attention, and I've only really heard that in like one or two other songs. And I gotta say, I've heard one song where they sing it and they really don't nail it, and it's like, I don't love that. It's definitely a lot better than that, and I can appreciate what he's doing.
Okay.
As far as like he's making the conscious choice to sing in a belt that high with that much like force.
Yes.
And I don't think he better not be doing that live, or he better have found a way to do it live where he can do it over and over again without hurting himself.
Okay, gotcha.
Because that sounded incredibly strenuous, and it sounded good.
Yeah.
I say good with that tone
I know,
because I'm
right?
like, I hate using good and bad.
Oh my gosh, fine.
Sorry. But yeah, no, that instant right there, I was like, okay, this singer's making stylistic choices that sound interesting, and kind of prove. I don't want to say prove his musicianship because singing high notes doesn't prove musicianship.
Sure, it's like it's a skill.
It's a skill. It's him demonstrating his skill,
Yeah. Okay.
and that's totally cool, and I like that.
And it works.
Yeah,
Is that better than good for you? It works.
and it works. Does it work perfectly? It sounds strenuous, and I heard it, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, so you heard it and you were like, ooh, that's a high note. And I heard it the first time and I was like, oh, he's in his falsetto voice. And then we ended up re-listening to it earlier today.
No, he screams it.
And he's not even close to his falsetto.
No, it's yeah. And in Willett, I think was very thoughtful about the choices that he made. And that thoughtfulness comes from an understanding of his instrument, both vocally and as a pianist.
I was just about to say, I was like, as if he was just the singer, we'd still talk about it.
If he was the singer, we'd still talk about him, of course.
But the fact that he also does the piano and they make the piano so prominent
so
on
good.
this one
It's
is
so good.
Just,
Yeah, the tone of the piano is somewhere between like this big booming sound and like this honky tonk shimmer, and I'm like, it's really good. It's really, really good. I don't know what kind of piano he uses.
I don't know either.
I hope they still have it.
Hope they have it 4 years later.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. I'm looking for notable things to mention, Alex.
Have I ragged on the guitar enough? I could rag on the guitar more.
What's your are you just ragging on its lack of presence?
There's no guitar that really grabs my attention and sings to me. It adds a very nice. The guitarist is good in the sense that it adds a very nice color to the album. But I don't like it after that. I think I've ragged enough on the guitarist.
Okay. I'll read this short thing on Wikipedia that I found while we were looking at this. This was the first album after they lost their previous guitarist, Dan Gallucci. So this is David Kwan's first album with Cold War Kids.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know much about music at all, but I don't know if they were like, oh, we've already been working on these things, we're not going to give him that prominent of a role, or if it was something more along the lines of like, see if he works and like build up, or if they just, I don't know.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe their old guitarist Dan Gallucci also didn't have prominent roles, or didn't have the same melodic choices.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't listened to previous albums. This is the only thing that I've listened to by them.
Yes.
So what you've listened to by them, what else do you like? How do you think the band evolved from what you've listened to? If you've listened to like the last album,
give me a moment.
Literally look up their discography.
I'm on it. I listened to their previous album. I believe I listened to their Dear Miss Lonely Hearts and Hold My Home. I believe that's the one I listened to most recently. But nothing stood out to me. Like I listened to the album once, and at no point was I like, ooh baby, we're gonna listen to this one again. I listened to it once and then put it away forever. And it's not that, I was so put off by it. I just felt like LA Divine is so dynamic between the highs and the lows and the soft sounds and the loud sounds. And I feel like there's so much moving parts that you can listen to the whole thing and you're like, wow, I just experienced, I don't want to say a journey because it's not a congruent story, but you've experienced so many different things that it doesn't get stale. And it's a 40 some odd minute album, and I don't think it feels stale at any point in there. No. I felt that, and I believe it was Dear Miss Lonely Hearts and Hold My Home in that album before, and maybe it's because the guitar was too prominent, maybe I was actually bothered by that. I felt like nothing stuck out to me in that album. So much to the point that I only remember being like, well, we don't need to listen to that again. I'll just move on with my life. I think, and LA Divine was actually, I think it might have been the very first album in my whole life. So there's a little bit of bias here that I sat down and I was like, I'm going to listen to this album from start to finish. and that's all I was doing. I didn't do anything else. There was no other like side category.
You were actively listening.
I was
to this
actively
album.
listening to LA Divine, and I just sat there just in awe of like all of the things going on, and I was like, "Is this how good music can be?" And I was like, "Let's listen to their last album," and it just didn't hit the same. And I was like, "Okay," so I just hit this peak point of like great music, in my opinion, and like active listening.
Yeah, right album, right time.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the reason that it ended up being my suggestion, is because it stuck with me so long. The only single I ever go back and be like, if I'm not listening to the whole album, is I only go back for No Reason to Run. And it's just if I just need like a good heartfelt sing.
Oh yeah. No, I get that. No Reason Run's really good.
I feel like I had another thing to mention and I already forgot it. Did you want to talk about Ordinary Idols
Ordinary Idols?
or Part of the Night?
Something for Ordinary Idols. I really like the syncopated bass in the beginning, but they should have boosted it or made it a little bit more active in the chorus. It kind of was it stayed at a level, and then it, as far as like excitement, activity, volume, and then it stayed at that level, or even like kind of went down. But I'm not positive if it went down. And I wish that it became a little more active or present. The guitar is totally timbral there. So it's not. I'll give it a neutral. I really like the timbre that it's bringing, and I definitely think that is something that it's contributing. But I don't think it's like a predominant role. I love the low harmony, and I love the piano. Those are my notes on Ordinary Idols.
Okay. I'll again the guy who's just in love with these lyrics, I'm gonna read my notable couplet in here. It's actually the chorus, so you get to hear it a couple times. It's the line, "Why would you idolize me? There's nothing I got that you don't." And what I like about it is, dare I even say it? It's like a meta commentary on musicians as a whole, where they're literally like, "I'm just a person. Like, you don't need to freak out about this." and I'm not saying, if you want to go back to like hair bands of the 80s, they were like, we're just people doing drugs, like getting girls. They weren't building themselves up at all. But I like how grounded the message is.
Okay, yeah. I'm in.
And like, it's the 11th song in. Like, if you don't like them at this point, like, it doesn't.
If you don't like the message we're spitting now,
Yeah,
then
right?
like I don't know why you're here.
Right.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, whatever. But on this one, they're just like, we're just people. It's cool. It's fine.
We're just
Like,
vibing, dude. Yeah, I did like the song though.
okay.
Part of the Night.
Yeah, so these are the two songs. These are the two songs that they refer to themselves as a band within their own music, and I just thought it was a weird take on it.
Oh yeah, and they put them like, what do they put them right next to each
No,
other?
so
They
their
don't.
split by camera's always on, but like that's not a huge gap.
Yep.
But it's certainly later on in the album, which I think, I don't know if it makes more sense to go earlier or later for any particular reason.
Yeah.
But they're certainly close enough where like you get Ordinary Idols, they're specifically talking about them performing and like fans and that thing, and then 2 songs later you have Part of the Night where they're like, same thing, like, we're a band, we're a part of the night, like, it's very upfront. But what'd you want to say on it?
Let's see. I think this is the third single. Literally because of the clarity of the drums and the use of strings. And the fact that they're putting that much effort into it and not elsewhere is like, I think that the lead writers of this album, be it Willett or everybody, or I don't know how they divvy up power, I don't know. But point is that whoever made the conscious decision to be like, this song is going to be one of them. I really liked it. They use strings again. I really like the synthesizers that they use. I think that this band has a really good understanding of their timbres.
Okay. You've said timbres about 1 million times.
I have.
Can you define timbres for me?
Basically what I mean by timbre is that if you and I sing the same sound, the same pitch, at the same time, we are still going to sound different.
Yes. We're different people.
We are different people. The quality of our voice is different. That quality is timbre.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying they have a good understanding of their own sound in a way. In a
I
sense?
think that any successful musician has a good understanding of that. I think that's a super important element in music to get down.
Okay. Dare I make a jump here? Would you call this a successful album?
Ooh, yes.
A smidge of hesitation, but
I had to think about it, and I was like, yeah.
Okay.
But I set the bar for a successful album really, really low.
okay. Okay.
I consider if I listen to it all the way through, that's a successful
It
album.
didn't.
If at no point I feel the urge to be like, I think that's enough of this,
Yeah. Okay.
it's successful.
Sure. It has taken your time where you didn't feel like you wasted it.
Exactly.
Okay.
I am willing to commit the time.
Interesting.
That's the important thing.
Okay. All right.
But yeah. Point being that timbrally speaking, back to the timbre topic.
Timbre.
Yeah, the timbre. The synthesizers that they use, I think that they all fit into the song itself really, really nicely. The bloopiness of the bridge in is it Ordinary Idols? No, it's not Ordinary Idols. What is it?
It's No Reason to Run. I don't think we used.
Yes.
We didn't use Bloopy the first time.
We didn't. We used Quirky.
No, I think we used another thing, but it's okay.
Oh, okay. It's Bloopy or Quirky or whatever it is. I think that fits brilliantly. I think that works really, really well. The synthesizers that they use in Part of the Night sound very different, and it fits. But at the same time, it's one of those really interesting things where on some albums with some bands, they'll have a kind of sound, a timbral idea, a kind of color to the entire album. And actually, very often, artists will actually pair that with a literal color.
Okay. All right.
So, like, if you think of, like The Killers' Day and Age, that has a lot of purples and blues in it.
Okay.
I think that fits really well. A lot of Stevie Wonder has a lot of dark browns and reds and oranges, and that fits really, really well.
Are you describing the album
quality of the
cover?
sound.
The color of the album
Yeah,
cover?
that's
Oh,
literally
okay,
I
okay.
am describing the
just wanted to
color
make
of the
sure.
album cover.
Excellent. Okay.
Um,
I believe their album color is yellow.
that sounds right. It might be. No, it might be black and white, which I think makes sense. No, it's like a photo of a palm tree with an LA sky. I think it's fitting. I think aesthetically, it makes
I think
perfect
it's
sense.
fitting. It's in LA.
It's a palm tree in the
about
LA
LA.
night sky, an LA backdrop.
Yeah. Okay.
Who could ask for anything more? What?
All right. Are you? Do you feel you've talked it out?
I've talked it out. I talked quite a bit about it.
It's our first attempt. I mean,
I definitely don't feel like there's a thesis to this review.
It's not a thesis. No, I'll make you invent one. That's my job. It's to make you say things.
Okay, great. All right. Well, you know what? Yeah. Here's, you know what? At the beginning of the review, I just gave the flat 3.5.
Sure.
Now I'm gonna dive a little bit more into it, and really be like, here's the literal reasons behind this 3 out of 5.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask while you're forming your thesis statement. Could you? And I don't know if this even makes any sense. Stop me the second I make no sense.
Yep.
Could you explain ways that would create those 2 points? I know you went through all the nuances throughout this whole thing, and I understand that, like a 5 out of 5 album is built upon a great understanding of a band's timbre, a message, and then all the nuances that come together.
Yeah, not just timbre, like all elements. There's
Just-
so
I'm
much
naming
going
elements. I'm naming elements.
Okay.
So like, you could give like a broad overstatement, I guess, and you've done it. You've said like broad things that you could fix. Like, I guess that's how I'd like to end it. Like, if you could fix something, what would it be? Because you didn't give it a 5 out of 5.
I didn't.
And it's not gonna be on your forever listen to an album list. So like, what would you fix if you could?
It's the consistency.
Consistency.
It's the
Excellent.
consistency of
Now you guys can't see this, but Alex is putting his fingers together.
Yeah, I'm doing
like he's being like a, I don't know.
I'm holding this thesis like a needle betwixt my fingers.
Yes, exactly. So say
I'm trying to be as
consistency
precise as I
again,
can.
and let the audience imagine.
Consistent. I wish it was more consistent.
All right,
that is what's
excellent.
stopping it from being
Okay.
a 5 out of 5.
And consistent in quality.
Yes. I think there's that for what the band had, for what I imagined the band had at their disposal, I think they did very, very well. If they were to have unlimited resources to really like try again and again and be like, I want to change this around, that's how you get a 5 out of 5 album, in my opinion.
Okay.
But that reality is very rare. You need to already be successful and have 5 out of 5 albums before you get to take the time in the studio to craft a 5 out of 5 album like that. You can like just like out of the clear blue nail a 5 out of 5 album, and that totally happens. Of course that happens. Happens all the time. But I don't think it does that because the consistency of this album, because the consistency of the performers.
Okay. I'd like to give a similar style. It's an art form of what you're describing, maybe in more words that I can relate to, or not personally, but something I have an understanding of. So like a comedian. So when a comedian writes a joke, every time they say the joke, they repolish it. They try to make it better. They change the timing, the punchline, whatever it is. They fine tune it. But you could fine tune the joke forever.
Yeah.
At some point, they have to release their special. And at that time, the joke is good enough. It's good enough to release on a special. So I don't know what it's like recording music on a professional level, but is it a similar thing where you keep polishing and fine tuning, and then you're like, I think we're good enough to...
I also am not 100% positive on what it actually is to record in the professional thing. I've done recording and it's fun. But
wait, are we recording right now?
Imagine if I just stop right there and that's where it ends. It might actually be it. I'm so tempted.
No.
What was your question?
You you were saying that that you don't have the personal experience of the professional
you're right.
recording environment.
So, in my experience, you limit yourself to the amount of takes that you get. You only get kind of like 3 to 5 takes.
On like a realistic, when you get the studio time.
When you get the studio time, you have a limited amount of studio time, and you got to pay for that studio.
Well, I guess as a an artist yourself, when you write music, at what point are you like, it's good enough?
That's very, very fair. So something, and actually that interesting. So I'm like brewing something.
Well, so I like where you're going with the recording, because I have an understanding that like the recording studio costs money, and you can't just keep going back to the recording studio.
No, that's how you end up with Smiley Smile.
What is that?
That is an album by the Beach Boys. That do you know the song Good Vibrations?
Probably.
That's kind of like where that, like the Beach Boys released the single Good Vibrations, and that was going to go with the album Smiley Smile. Or Smile. It was going to be Smile, but they kept it in the studio for so long. I hate this name, Smiley Smile. And they spent so much money on it and so much time, and it's a very good album, and it's worth a listen. But I'm not going to even say it. But it's not Pet Sounds.
Okay.
That's how I want to describe it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I love that. I actually really like it.
All right. You were brewing thoughts on your artistry.
Yes. Yeah. I lost that.
That's why I'm bringing you back. That's my job.
Yeah. Let me see.
Well, so like, what was the last song you wrote and performed? For I don't know what band even. Like, remind me and anyone who knows you.
There's I don't want to. There's a little time. So, the question is, when does a musician decide when it's good enough?
Yeah.
So
well, that's the vague question. I was asking you on a personal level, but you can answer it either way.
Yeah. I want the vague version.
Okay.
So, essentially, basically, what happens is that at this point, it's Willett. I'm assuming it's Willett. I'm just going to assume it's Willett.
Who's writing these bomb lyrics?
Who's writing the lyrics? Mm-hmm. I think that makes sense. It could be someone else in there. In which case,
I could do some research while you're.
And as far as like the main person who writes everything goes, I think that's basically what happens is that the person who writes the song has a lot of time to figure out what their sound is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's why I'm like, Willett crushes it on this album, because he I assume he wrote everything. I assume he spent the most time really fine-tuning everything and figuring it out.
Yep.
If the people in his band had more studio time or more time with Willett, maybe it'd be a different album.
Yep.
And that's it. And would it be a better album? Would it be a worse album? I don't know. Who knows? More cooks in the kitchen. You know what I say? You know what they say?
What do they say?
I don't know. More cooks in the kitchen. Too many cooks. Too many cooks.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
Okay.
Too many cooks will spoil the broth. That's a phrase from...
Nice. Yes. No, sounds,
Good.
Sounds right.
No, that's a phrase from Too Many Cooks. Have you ever seen Too Many Cooks?
Oh, the Adult Swim.
Yeah, the Adult Swim special.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, it's really good.
Okay. Yes, I've seen it.
Okay, good. I was about to say, if you haven't, then what are we doing here, dude? God. But yeah, essentially, I think it's a 3 out of 5 album because it's basically Willett's performance alone elevates it to a 3 to a 3 out of 5.
Okay, that's fair.
I think that I don't know.
I guess the only other thing we haven't talked about on the album as a whole that I can think of right now is the flow of the album. As far as the flow, I felt like it was personally, like I said, I've listened to it enough times. I'd say it's good. I wouldn't go. I'll use a better word than good if I can. I'll say like I was saying earlier, it works. I've listened to enough times where like when one song ends, I know the intro to the next song. Like, so and like anyone who's listened to an album enough times, the second one song ends, you're like, oh baby, we're gonna get this intro coming. And so I have that sensation now when I re-listen to it. But does that make it a higher quality album? Not necessarily. It's more of a nostalgia feeling. But as a whole, like I said, I think the flow works. I'm not saying you should necessarily move one song one direction or another song another direction, up or down. And like the short songs kind of like, I don't want to say cut into it, but like, how do you even put a short song in an album? Like,
no, I think that the way that they do it totally works. I think that you're right. The structure and the form of an album is an element that the composer needs to take into account.
Yes.
Especially with something that is the standalone album. Like if it's something that pairs along with a movie, your form is already set.
Sure.
If it's a game, it's a different thing for a different situation.
But it's specifically
but
this
for
type
here,
of album,
it's the form is so important to kind of the character of the album. I think that the form is totally fine.
Okay.
I like it. It makes perfect sense. It's very formulaic to things that are in its genre. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, some musicians use this idea differently. This kind of like fourth wall of how do we divvy up the music, essentially.
I like your phrase of fourth wall.
Yeah, I call it fourth wall literally just because I'm like the only thing I can think of is like Pink Floyd's use of like tape splices and like in the song of like there were certain teachers who had the children any way they could. Oh, the happiest days of our lives. Yeah, happiest days of our lives into Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, and it's such a clean cut and it's really cool and I love it and it's really
yeah. And that's when they've put the work in to make it flow literally, not even like
they are aware of the element that they're manipulating.
Yeah.
And they do it in a very clever way, in a very smart way. Pink Floyd does it in a masterful way, absolutely. I think that these guys do it in a perfectly fine way.
Like a 3 out of 5?
Like a 3 out of 5. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. Like it's got some stadium jams, it's got some slow songs. Like what more do you need?
Right.
That's my John Travolta.
Do you have any?
I didn't start in John Travolta, but I think I ended there.
All right. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I'm gonna end on John Travolta.